Hey guys, how you going? My name is Dom, and today I want to talk about the Element.getBoundingClientRect method in the JavaScript document object model. So this method will return you an object containing properties about the surrounding rectangle of an element. This includes things such as the width and height, the top, right, bottom and left values, as well as the x and y coordinates. So here we'll see it in use with this green box on the screen. So inside my code here we have a div with a class of box, that box before, and also some basic styles for that box class. Now in the JavaScript we're going to make use of that getBoundingClientRect method, okay? But first we should actually get a reference to that box element. So down here we'll make a new constant and we'll call this one box. Simple as that. Alright, equal to document.querySelector, and we're going to select a single div with a class of box, and that should give us that guy right there. If I log out box real quick in the browser, we should now see we get that div. Alright, so from here we're going to call this method on that box or that div. So this method will actually return you something called a DOMRect object or a DOM rectangle object, and that is a basic object with a few properties in it. So let's make a new constant to actually store that object. So we'll say const and we'll call this one rect. Alright, equal to, we're going to call the getBounding box, we're going to call box.getBoundingClientRectangle or rect on that one. So I'm going to say getBoundingClientRect. Okay, so now this contains some information about the rectangle surrounding that div. If I log out the rect object here, we should see that info. Refresh and we get that right there. If we expand this, okay, so here the bottom property refers to the amount of space between the top of the browser window and the bottom of that square. The height, alright, left is the space between the left of the browser window and the left of the square. The right, the same thing. Left of the window, left of the window and the right of the square. The top of the window, top of the square. Alright. The width obviously. The X is the X space in the top left corner. The Y is the space between the top of the browser window and that top left corner right there. And that is that property. Now this will actually give you values relative to the top left corner of the browser window. So everything is coming from here, the top left, and that's why I said top left, boom, down, like that. Now also this includes the actual border box of that element, which means if I add a border to that square, these values will also be increased. So for example, let's add a border to that box. So we'll say, okay, box, give it a border of 2 pixels, solid and black. If I save this one and refresh, we get obviously the nice looking border and also increased values in the width and height and everything else actually, because it includes the actual the border box of that element. So 104 and 104. 2 on each side, 2, 2 and 2 and 2. Okay, same goes for padding. If I was to add some padding to this thing, 5 pixels right there, save this one, refresh, and we get increased values, 114, 114, 188, all that sort of stuff. Now if I was to obviously make the border sizing, so what is it, the box sizing to border box, this time obviously all the border and padding is going to be condensed into the actual element, So now we should get these same values from the beginning. We'll get 100 pixels, boom, 100, 100, and everything's the same. Alright, so keep that in mind. Now, that is how you can use the getBoundingClientRect method. It's useful for actually building UIs. So, for example, if I was to add some content before the actual box, alright, and then when I scroll down, when this box comes into view, I can change the background color of that box. So for example, let's just go down here and add some content before that box. So we'll say, okay, paragraph tag, and add some lorem. We'll add about, let's say, 5 of those, should be enough. Save this one, refresh the browser, and we get that right there. So now I can scroll down. Now when the box comes into play, or into view, I want that to actually turn into red. Okay? So to do that, we can first add an event listener to the actual window object. Alright, so down here, I'm going to get rid of that, actually all of that. And the box is still there. Alright, so I'm going to add an event listener to the window object. So window.addEventListener. I'm going to add the scroll events. Alright, now when you scroll down, this function will fire off. Alright, for now, I'm going to log out the inner height of the window. So I'm going to say log, and then pass in here window.innerHeight. Okay, if I save that one and refresh the browser, when I start scrolling down, we get 427 in the actual console. And this will be the space between the top of the browser and the bottom of the browser. Alright, so now what I'll do is also, I'm just going to actually log out. I'm going to log out also the getBoundingClientRect method and the top property. So I'm going to say box.getBoundingClientRect and log out the top property from that. If I save this one, refresh the browser, we get all that stuff right there. So as you can see, as I scroll down, the top of that box decreases because it's coming closer to the top of the actual browser. But scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, keep going, boom. At that point here, that actually a bit higher up, something like that, right there, for 19. At that point there, the top of that box is less than the browser window height, and there is where you want to actually change the color of the background, because that's where the actual box is in the actual view. Alright, so now it's quite straightforward. I'm simply just going to say, okay, I'm going to say if the box.getBoundingClientRect top, if that is less than, alright, the window.innerHeight, the box is inside the actual view. So from here, I'm just going to say box.style.background equal to red. Okay, and that's it. If I save this one and refresh the browser, we should see our result. I'll scroll down, boom, red. Perfect. Alright, and that is how you can use the Element.getBoundingClientRect method in the JavaScript document object model. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.